Here's the truth. Having a daily spiritual practice is the fastest way to manifest your dream life. You want to know why? Let's dive in.
What would your life be like if you were finally able to unlock the key to manifesting the life of your dreams? If you're ready to transform your life by mastering the art of manifestation, then stay tuned. The Manifestation Society show with Allison Carver is just for you.
Welcome to the Manifestation Society with Allison Carver, where every week we showcase the most brilliant women powerhouses and all of their amazing manifestation stories. I'm your host, Allison Carver, and this talk show is meant to inspire you. It's meant to show you that you can manifest too. You can do this. It's just a matter of understanding how it all works. I want you to know that this is easy and it can easily be incorporated into your daily life. Before I introduce today's guest, let me share with you the affirmation of the day. I am connected to the universe and it is connected to me. I believe that this one statement will remind you that you are in fact manifesting your dream life with God. Because that's an important thing to remember. You're not in this by yourself. You're not alone. Together, you are both co-creating your dream life. Now, listen, for me, having a spiritual practice was really it. It is what reminded me every day that I needed to remember to include God into my daily life. And it can look like whatever you want it to look like. All that matters is two small things: that you're intentional about doing it every day, and that it's something that inspires you and relaxes you. Today's guest is somebody that the Manifestation Society already knows and loves. It's our dear friend, Rachel Thomas, and she certainly knows a lot about having a daily spiritual practice. Let's welcome back Rachel. Thank you so much for coming back. We are thrilled to have you back on the show.
Well, I am, of course, thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. All right. So what can you tell our audience about a daily spiritual practice? I know you have a lot of good tips about this.
Yes. Well, I mean, that it's necessary, right? I think that, like I mentioned before, it's kind of like working out. If you want to see the results, it's got to be a daily practice, or at least something that you do often enough, and that's not just sporadic whenever you really want something like hard abs, or you know what I mean? It's got to be something that is, you mentioned so many times before, intentional.
How would you say having a daily spiritual practice connects to manifestation? How do those two things go hand in hand?
It's a necessary relationship. I think that before you know how to be intentional about manifesting, people sometimes forget that they're already doing it. So you may be manifesting not so great things into your life. And so that's the reason that a daily practice is so absolutely necessary, because you know, just to take it back to working out, like, you're still changing your body regardless if you're working out or you're sitting on the couch, you know, eating a bag of chips. You're constantly changing your body. It's just, what do you want to create? What do you you know, what kind of life do you want to create for yourself? And really the easiest way to do that is starting a daily practice, knowing that it is every single day you're taking time for yourself and for the self that you want to create.
Exactly. You know, I love talking about this topic because I feel like people think it's really heavy. You know, I love to say, let's talk about your daily spiritual practice. And they look at me like, what are you talking about? They think that that means I'm sitting for hours in prayer and in devotional, or it's like a super heavy topic. But the truth of the matter is, your daily spiritual practice can be anything that speaks to you. And it's so personal to you. And what speaks to you might not speak to me. But as long as you're being intentional and taking that time, it changes everything.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's so personal, because I remember very vividly, you know, sending you a text message. I think it's important to call it that you and I are good friends. But I remember sending you a text message saying, what do you do on a daily basis? Like, it felt like, you know, I was maybe missing something. Or, you know, when you see a good friend making amazing things happen in their life, it's only natural to be like, hey, can you tell me how you did that? Can you maybe turn me on to something that I haven't been doing previously that maybe you are doing that works? I mean, it's important that it's personal, but that doesn't say that there can't be some similarities between what works for someone. And I think that's why it's so important to talk about, right? To like, this is how you get, hard abs, doing sit-ups or crunches. Like, this is how you create amazing things in your reality by, taking time to quiet your mind or write what you're already very thankful for in your life.
One of the things that I started doing with my very first spiritual practice was actually drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning, which I know, again, sounds crazy. And you're like thinking, Allison, that's not spiritual. Well, for me, I was showing myself that I was making myself a priority. I was getting my water in. I was taking care of my body, all the things that I wasn't doing.
Well, and that's another thing. Like, there's this big, buzz about self-care. And I think as busy moms, we think that having a shower is self-care, or, maybe going to the bathroom by ourselves is self-care. Right. And it's just, I think that we need to do a better job of breaking that stigma. That's not necessarily a healthy routine. It's just something like, these are basic building blocks of living, right? You should be able to take a shower. You should be able to have a few moments to quiet yourself. But, it is like anything else. It's got to be made a priority. And if you only have 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, an hour a day, that's time that you're giving to yourself, allowing yourself to have a glass of water instead of rushing through my morning, instead of saying, I'm so busy, we're late, we're this, we're that. Like, just stopping, filling up your glass and be like, right now, I'm going to intentionally enjoy this glass of water, which seems so simple, right?
So simple. And that's what it is. I think that all of this stuff is so simple. It's just a matter of taking the time and doing it. So let's give our audience some examples. What are some great, easy to do for those of us who don't have a lot of time? What are some easy things you can do every day to connect with your spiritual practice?
It all has to come back to gratitude. Appreciating what you already have in your life creates more of it. Sometimes people take for granted the health of their family or their children, or the level of support that they get from their husband, or, really the relationship that they have with their girlfriend. Sometimes it's easy to assume that is all just, oh, well, they would support me regardless. Like, not to say that you have to think of people who don't have it, but just taking a moment to be like, I'm really super lucky that my kids at least slept through the night last night, or slept in their own beds, because in my house, that is something to be grateful for with 3 little ones. But I mean, I truly, truly believe that starting your day with gratitude just raises your vibration, right? And we all know that high vibes is what it takes to get that wheel of manifestation really rolling.
Absolutely. I know for me, for my journey on manifestation, that the spiritual practice is actually where I started, because I very much remember that text message. It was very early on when we were getting to know each other, and we were asking, like, what should we be doing? Because it became very clear that setting yourself up for the day and getting yourself in the right, quote unquote, headspace for the day was really what it was going to take to get you through to be manifesting at your highest potential. And for me, I was coming downstairs. I was a zombie. I hadn't taken any time for myself. I also have 2 small kids. And it was like, I kind of was like braced for impact. I didn't know what I was going to deal with. Exactly. And I'm like, give me a cup of coffee. I wasn't setting myself up for success. And I was just like allowing all of the chaos to impact me. So for me, drinking that glass of water and, like you said, doing the gratitude, I mean, it only started with those 2 things, and it took like 15 minutes.
And
it's
such a huge impact, right? And I love how you said brace yourself for impact, because I feel like so many of us are like that, men and women alike. Like, okay, Day, let's get this started. Let's see how many cups of coffee it takes to get me going. And it's almost like that self-talk. And I was just going to say, like, that's kind of that next step in the process. And I know you mentioned that, drinking water and a gratitude list, that takes about 15 minutes. And I kind of want to even dispel that sometimes it's just thinking of a few things like, oh man, I'm so glad we have hot water. You know what I mean? Or like, I remember when everything was going down with the winter storm in Texas, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that, we have our heat on, and just things like that. And it's just a quick thought away from, oh, this coffee tastes like crap. And I think that when you can redirect focus, something that you get into a practice of just reframing thought.
Yes.
That's takes mere seconds, split seconds, right? And already you're on a better momentum for your day.
Mm-hmm. And then it helps you shift everything that happens throughout the rest of the day. It's not just stuff coming at you that you're just reacting to.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you pause. At least it did for me. It gave me a chance to take a step back and say, okay, how am I going to react to this? How am I going to respond? Because it reminded me like, oh, I can be thankful for this obstacle. And ultimately for me, having that daily spiritual practice, it really reset my entire trajectory. Really, it helped my mind get in the right space to like absorb all of this.
Oh, I agree. It's kind of like we talked about. You don't have to learn it all at once. Like you're going to reach different levels of your life where you're like, oh, now it's time for me to learn how to do this or truly digest this lesson of manifestation. And I do think it's so important to have patience with yourself, to know that you'll have a couple off days, to know that like some days even quieting your mind for a few minutes seems a little bit too much and a little bit just, okay, I just need to center my thoughts type of thing. But it really is crazy how once you get into a practice, once you realize how good you're feeling, once you are able to better cope with things like getting a flat tire or getting pulled over or, spilling your coffee in the car, it's amazing that you're like, oh my gosh, before I feel like I would have been super anxious and either flying off the handle and all of these things. And when you have that daily practice, you're better able to say, okay, I'm equipped with what I need here. How can I just reframe this? This must mean that I need to slow down and just reevaluate my morning or how my day's going, or realize that, I love this, that this is not happening to me. This is happening for me. That was a big one for me. Noting that it's not me, the victim. It's me that's creating this. And when I slow down, I can truly look at things that okay, how did I create this? Okay, I'm just going to slow down and give myself a minute to gather my thoughts, see how I can reframe.
So we touched on the water and the gratitude, and what are some other really simple things that you think somebody could incorporate today for their spiritual practice?
Personally, I like gratitude. I like to kind of go back a little bit, and I talk a little bit about this in my book, The Mind Hustle Journal. It's just a simple 5-minute process and a routine that you can kind of go through quickly, get what you need done. What I like to do, I do a little bit of meditation. Sometimes it's a guided meditation, and sometimes it is literally me just like the moment I wake up, keeping my eyes closed and just kind of counting my breaths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just until I can kind of slow my mind, give myself a chance to wake up. Now, sometimes it doesn't happen the moment we wake up, right? But I do think that is even a more advanced level to get yourself into what they call alignment. Because I know at first, like I told people, I can't meditate. I can't quiet my mind. I can't even hardly quiet my mouth. How am I supposed to quiet my mind? Do you know what I mean? And so I think that's something real that people struggle with, this thought that they can't do something, especially like quieting their mind or, just stopping their thoughts for a second so that they can just breathe. But meditation is definitely up there.
No doubt. No doubt. And another thing that's been really important for me is setting an intention for the day, getting yourself like, this is what my day will be. Full of ease, full of grace, full of joy. Just setting myself up for the best possible outcome has also been really, really important. So can you give us something really inspiring that you've manifested that you attribute your spiritual practice leading you to it?
A little bit about, how I got to where I am with my podcast and even my book is that, I had been kind of hustling in the corporate world for 15 years. I had some great opportunities. I worked for the Dallas Cowboys. I moved my entire family here, started designing for another big brand, and really kind of thought, okay, life feels good, but it still feels like something's missing. I remember being on vacation, our very first family vacation with our 3 children. We went to Hilton Head. We had a wonderful time on spring break, and I will never forget it, obviously, won't ever. But on our drive home, I got a call, and remember, this is at the very beginning of the pandemic, last March, and the owner of my company called me while we were driving back and gave me the sad news that, unfortunately, that I had to be furloughed from my job that I loved, a well-paying job, one that certainly supported our family with the help of my husband and his job, but it really put things in perspective. And it was that moment, and I know that doesn't seem like a positive manifestation, but in that moment, I remember being able to hang up in that phone call and really kind of sit in silence and think, this is happening for a reason. And it's for me, not to me. This is happening for me. It is not happening to me. And the fact that I was able to just say that so calmly, I didn't cry, I wasn't anxious. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is the universe just really shifting things around for me so that I can grow into this, bigger version of myself. And so from there, it really took a lot of navigating those ego thoughts, those, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Like, who am I to start a podcast, or who am I to write a book? Who wants to hear from me? And so I feel like my biggest manifestation was really conquering those fears about, who I thought I was, what I identified with as a working woman in the corporate world, and the level of stress and pressure that I put upon myself. And then when that was all just taken away from me, that I was able to just say, okay, what next? You know what I mean? And really that was the beginning of something beautiful and a great adventure. But it's not like everything happened at once, right? It was the course of several months. It took me to, baby step. I started my podcast for corporate women, people who were finding it hard to cope at work, and showing them, hey, I'm finally ready to be, out in the open with this knowledge, and show, others like me how it doesn't have to be stressful. Even things as small as negative self-talk or being self-deprecating at work. I think that that's a practice that we've all kind of, really picked up on. So really, I view my biggest manifestation, the ability to overcome this huge and otherwise kind of embarrassing life happening of losing my job, being out of work for the first time in 15 years, and a career that I thought was just so me, so wrangled up with my identity that I wasn't anything outside of that career. And that's why I started the podcast, just to help others realize that, work doesn't have to be your life. That isn't the end all be all. You need to allow some space to, allow things into your life. So you're not hustling all the time.
Thank you for sharing that, because what I love about your story is that manifestation is completely tied into the previous manifestation that you shared on another episode on the show, how getting to Kansas City was at that point your biggest manifestation. And then you had an opportunity. The universe was like, okay, we got you where you want to be. Now we're going to rearrange things. We're going to take this away and open you up to having a podcast, to writing a book, to doing an apparel line, to doing oracle cards, right? Like all the things that were probably deep down in your soul that you knew you wanted to do, but you weren't maybe sure how it was all going to happen.
It's so true. When you said it had to make room, I think that's something that you don't learn right away with manifestation, that to get something else has to be taken away. Like if you want a new bed, you got to haul off the old one. And I think that oftentimes people think that they can just make it all happen together. Well, I want to live here and I want my job and I want this to just, take off. I want this to be successful. And they don't realize, like, well, don't you understand? There's no way you would be able to dedicate all this time to, starting a podcast or even starting another Instagram account. This doesn't come easily. There are things that, one has to learn, like, oh, okay, I need to do this and I have to post this, and and I have to learn how to get this podcast up and running. And, it's one of those things I'm like, there's no way I would have been able to manage, one, the stress of being in the pandemic, two, the stress of just like Am I going to lose my job? Am I not going to lose my job? And it's just kind of like the universe is like, let me just take care of this one little thing for you first. And then you can just go. You know what I mean? And so it's,
yeah. And look at all the doors that opened up for you. I mean, and what I love about what you shared is that you were so neutral in your reaction to, you know, you get this phone call, you're driving in the car with your family, coming home from an amazing vacation, and you get this phone call that for a lot of people who maybe were in a different headspace, it would totally freak them out, right? They would get angry. They would get sad. Like you said, they would have a panic attack. They might cry, which is all a completely normal and understandable reaction.
Yeah.
But I love how you were so neutral. You're like, okay, this is the universe doing this for me. And I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say it's because you had that spiritual practice in place. You were like, okay, I'm ready. I'm geared up. Let's do it. Right?
I mean, 1000%. It's like we all kind of it was like a slow train wreck. You know, at the beginning of the pandemic, we all saw that kind of like, oh God, what's happening? What's happening? And, you know, you get this intuition. You get this like feeling like something's going to happen and I want to be in control of my reaction. And that's something that I don't feel like historically before I had a mindset practice that I was in control of. I've always jokingly said, I'm a Cancer. I'm super emotional. Like I could fly off the handle at any moment because that's my astrology. You know what I mean? And I think it's really important that people realize, no, this is a learned behavior that you can, you know, I think it's the part of the brain, the amygdala, that triggers that response to get really like anxious and almost like fight or flight, shut down your body. And it's just like, you can learn how to really change brain matter. And I think that's where people kind of lose track. They think that this is all, you know, woo woo or esoteric. And it's like, hey, science doesn't lie. This is proven. This is proven to change, you know, certain parts of your brain so that you can better cope with things. And I mean, that's enough for me right there.
And doesn't it help you feel so comforted to know that you're not alone, that God, the universe, whatever you identify with, is right there with you? And if you do this practice of being grateful, having gratitude, drinking water, getting outside, gosh, meditating, yoga, whatever it is that connects you to God, it just, I know for me, it gives me such a sense of peace and such a sense of, okay, we got this. Whatever's coming my way, whatever we're manifesting, good, bad, whatever, I know I can be neutral because I know that I'm headed towards better things.
I couldn't agree more. That peace, that sense of peace that I think that sometimes in religion can be confused with desperation.
Yeah.
I need this. I need this in my life. I need this to work out. You know what I mean? I need. And then we kind of forget that once we reverse that and kind of already say, it's here, it's done. It's yours for the taking, it is on a platter. I'm just going to need you to figure out the, you know, puzzle pieces and how to put it all together. Yeah,
exactly. So will you share with us, I know this, that you have made these gorgeous cards. Would you mind telling us about your cards and how people can use those as part of their spiritual practice and maybe share them with us or pull a card even? I would love that.
Oh, I would love to. Okay, so I kind of introduced my book earlier. I did make these Mind Hustle cards. They're called Daily Guidance to Manifest Your Best. So they're actually part of my 5-minute practice. Sometimes, you know, when you can't think of an affirmation and you just need a little bit of guidance from, you know, the universe, your higher self, there's a lot of things that can be tapped into if we just allow ourselves. And I think oracle cards or any kind of guidance cards, affirmation cards are an excellent way to really tap into that message that is really going to catapult us through the day in a positive way. And so, like I said, these are the Mind Hustle cards. Oops, that was upside down. But really, I can kind of show you a few of them. It's just all these different kind of really colorful, beautiful, very simple to understand. You don't have to be a tarot card reader or anything like that. These are just simple things that just really get your day started. I tell people you don't have to have any experience. Like I said, it is just setting that intention, like, okay, God or universe or higher self, whatever you are identifying with the most at that moment, what do I need to know today? You can give them a shuffle. You can just, like, you know, put them in your hand. You can fan them out. There's really no right or wrong way. And you just pull yourself a card. And today's was give, give, and give more. Now, look at all the space you have to receive. Isn't that funny that we're talking about having space? Like, to get more, you have to have space for it to come to you. And I had to lose my job to get all of these things. But all I could focus on was like, okay, I'm just going to give. I gave the owner of my company a break and said, I understand. This is this is out of your control. This is out of anyone's control. And I think everybody was a little bit surprised. They not wanted me to, but maybe they're expecting me to be upset, or this isn't fair, or how could you do this? And I was like, I'm so sorry. This must be a really difficult day for you to be going through. But yeah, so it's just really funny how like that's give and give and give more. And you're just kind of thinking, okay, what are ways I can give? I can give my time. Sure, I can make a donation. I can give my money. I can give away my children's old clothes, clear out some of that space in the garage or their closets, and then, just invite more of what you want, more of what you're already grateful for. And so it's just these fun little daily affirmations. Like I said, I would love to give your viewers a free card deck of their own. If they can purchase my book, like I said, there is a space to pull a card in my book, and you can really write it down and keep track of the things like maybe on Thursday you pulled this give and give more. And so you gave away a bunch of stuff, and then you see, oh my gosh, on Monday, now I have all this amazing things happening to me. And I think that's the most fun, don't you? When you can make a connection.
Absolutely.
Practice. Yes. Everything's coming back to these abs. Like after you've exercised and done all these crunches, okay, look at me. Now I've got these flat abs. But I really can't stress enough that it's very similar. It's a very similar part of your brain, that motivation to keep going, and a simple and fun way for me to, put something like that in your practice. It's quick. You saw how quickly I did that.
Yeah, I love it.
Cards, set the intention, pull a card. Okay, that's the message I need to hear today.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so easy, and it's so simple. And that's what I love about it. And I think that's the message I really want everyone to know, is that this is not a heavy, serious, super time consuming thing. This is designed to be easy and fun, and to help you get inspired and feel connected to God and feel connected to the universe, and know that everything is all happening in the right timing. So thank you for sharing that with us, Rachel. We covered a lot today, I know, but remember, having a daily spiritual practice is really easy, and you can do it very simply by just deciding to start today. I would love for you to set the intention to start your daily spiritual practice. And remember, it's really easy because you can get a copy of Rachel's cards and start using those in your day-to-day life, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think we should hold another giveaway, Allison. How about we do it on the Hustle versus Flow Instagram, and we'll have your viewers maybe comment below, and I can send them their very own Mind Hustle card deck so they can start pulling cards for themselves and just seeing how important and impactful it is to, really keep up with that spiritual practice.
That is an amazing idea. Thank you for being here and sharing with us all this amazing information. Remember, you can tune in to season 2 of Rachel's podcast, Hustle versus Flow, where she's going to share all of the goodness, all this good information that she shared with us today. And thank you so much for watching, for being a part of the show. Tune in Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you next time.